Welcome to a healthier, happier you, the people working to make it happen. I'm Evan J. Cholfin from Lexhammer, where we help the brands that help you live healthier. Today, I'm joined by David Raduziner, founder, vice chair, and chief development officer of Salon Freedom Holdings, who's revolutionizing the beauty industry by empowering independent beauty professionals. His insights into building the largest franchise within the salon studio business in America are invaluable for our audience. David, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, what inspired you and your co-founder to create the company?
It was a little bit of luck and good timing. I was friends and neighbors with the founder of Sola Salons in Boulder, Colorado, and I had a change of career situation and had been following along as he had been building the Sola business. And so timing was right and kind of got introduced to the business, and it kind of checked a lot of boxes for me on what was important. And I elected to move ahead. And then at that time, I reached out to my good friend, Steve Bruner, who had been in the salon business for, at that time, maybe 15, 18 years. He had built a chain of supercuts in Pennsylvania. So he had industry experience and multi-unit experience, and I had finance and business and real estate experience. And the idea was to create a significant multi-unit franchise business. So we joined together and acquired some territory and began down the road with Sola Salons. That was in 2008.
Wow. So, how did your real estate experience play into it?
Well, the Sola business model is a salon suites model. The idea being that independently minded beauty professionals can come into a Sola, own and operate their own business, and while making it easy for them to do that, reducing the capital outlay, simplifying all of the services associated with putting a facility together. We basically take care of all of that from the very beginning. So you can see, just very simply, it's kind of, there's an element to it that's real estate. It's acquiring these larger spaces, designing them, constructing them to support 30 to 50 or even more beauty professionals in their own independent shops, and then going through a process of recruiting and taking care of our Sola professionals, which are like tenants in a real estate business. But there's elements to it. It's like a real estate business with a bunch of service and customer support wrapped around it.
That's amazing. And how many locations and beauty professionals are there currently?
Well, in the Sola Salon system-wide, there are around 750 locations and about 22,000 beauty professionals. In our system, we have 59 locations in 4 states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Texas, and we have around 1,700 beauty pros in our system.
So, with all those folks and locations, where are you focusing your energy right now?
Well, we're focusing on energy the way we always have, which is putting our customer first. So it's taking care of our beauty pros, making sure they have what they need, making their lives as easy as possible. It doesn't always work perfectly. There are a lot of things that happen, but our job is to, when we encounter difficulties or issues that somebody's having, that we jump on it. We do everything we possibly can to make it right. So that's our job one. And is always at the center of everything we do. Then there's the other aspect, which is, well, we're building facilities, locations, and filling them. So there's a whole element of recruiting, attracting new beauty pros. It's a constant cycle, and then doing everything we can through that service to retain them, keep them as Sola pros as long as they would like to be there.
So, how are you developing your support systems to maintain quality at the scale and to support those beauty professionals?
Well, we've changed a lot over time. When we began, it was basically just our very first location, which happened to be in San Francisco. We no longer own that particular location, but it was me being on the ground, getting the thing designed and built, and then recruiting beauty professionals. We did have some part-time help because I was remote. I was living in Colorado, so I was traveling, but I was spending weeks at a time in San Francisco, just holding folks' hands, bringing everybody through the process. And that was at a time in 2008 where this concept was really not understood. It was very new. It was absolutely new in San Francisco and in the area. There were markets around the country that had this concept and in a number of locations, be it places like Phoenix, Arizona, Dallas, and there might have been in Ohio, but very, very limited. And so we introduced this entire concept into the market, and there's a lot of education and handholding. And then we had to, of course, secure service partners like cleaning folks and HVAC maintenance people, plumbers, electricians to maintain the facilities. But the biggest thing is just establishing relationships with our customers and understanding where they're coming from, what their needs are, and then doing everything we possibly can to make their lives easier and help them be as successful as possible and focus on what's really important to them primarily, which is serving their customer, whether it's a cut and color, whether it's nail services, or well, of course, we have a lot of estheticians as well doing skincare and a variety of other services.
Yeah, that's great. So what aspects of your business model are working particularly well right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing, honestly, is the move toward independence, which we see across industries. People want to work for themselves, control their own destiny. In our industry, it's about controlling your schedule, controlling the product that you sell, controlling the music in your salon, the whole environment for your customer, and privacy. The shift to independence has been huge and has enabled this industry to grow, this segment of the industry to grow really fast, like on the order of, say, 10x over a 15-year period in terms of number of people that are working in this type of environment. And then there's an element that kind of supercharged it a bit around COVID when people were remote. It really affected the beauty industry in a big way because of the inability to visit your service provider. And what happened there, I think a lot of beauty professionals enjoyed, well, it was a little bit foisted on them, but ultimately have just become more flexible because they experienced that. So maybe they don't want to work 5 days a week. They want to work 3 days a week, 3 longer days. It was always fairly flexible, but that kind of changed and it moved more people away from the typical employment relationship to the independent, either independent contractor or independent business owner type of relationship.
What's your ideal beauty professional profile? Who thrives the most in the solo environment?
Well, of course, the easiest one, if you will, is someone who's got 5 to 5 plus, let's call it, years experience. They've been successful building up a clientele. There's customer loyalty. And then those folks can simply make the shift, move over. Their customers are going to follow them, and they can relatively easily get into business ownership. We make it really simple for them to do that. Of course, they have things to learn. There's some bookkeeping, there's things like that, but we provide services and support that enable that to happen quite easily. So that's the sort of, I guess you'd say, the easy folks, the sweet spot. But then there's others. You know, we would like to help less experienced folks get into the business. Some of them are very capable. They can come virtually out of a beauty school situation and they can be very successful quite quickly just because they're really good at it. They got kind of a natural promotional and marketing mindset. They've got great relationships with people. Maybe they have a really strong friends and family network that they can leverage to begin, things like that. So there are definitely people like that. And then there are people kind of at the tail end of their career who really want to sort of fade out a little bit and not work as hard. And this environment can offer a really good option for those folks as well. So it works for everyone. It can work for everyone. It doesn't always. I think we'd like to do whatever we can to help the less experienced become successful in this environment, while at the same time supporting all of the folks who are really quite experienced and have a strong business.
So what would you say are your biggest challenges in scaling to all of those locations?
Well, over the time that we built up to these locations, we actually built 51 of our locations ourselves. That means we selected the sites, we negotiated the lease transaction or the purchase, and we designed and built and brought them to market. And then we've acquired 11 over the course of our gestation, while we've disposed of a couple as well. So that gets us to the number where we are. And so it's a matter of a lot of hard work and deciding where to site them, and then going through the entire process to bring them to market. And then on an acquisition, it's finding the right opportunity and working through it with the selling group and making it work. And then bringing those beauty pros that come from the target group into our system, which is a little bit different because every operator is a little bit different. And often there's a lot of fear at the beginning of that, but we know what we're doing. And once they understand we're all about supporting them, then it becomes quite easy. But it is a lot of work. Our first store opened in November 2009. And within our first 12 months, we had opened 3 stores, one in San Francisco, 2 in Nashville. And then we grew 1 or 2 or 3 a year for a number of years. And then we went into a much faster growth, probably around 2015, 16, which is when we entered the Pennsylvania market. And then we grew as many as 5, 6, even as many as 9 stores in a given year. And it was just a lot of work. The only way we could really do it is we had a fantastic team, not just our internal team, which was pretty lean, but we had a team of third-party partners, if you will, service partners, contractors, extra suppliers, et cetera, that helped furniture suppliers that enabled us to scale that rapidly because we could rely on them to do what needed to be done. We didn't have to direct every element of the process.
What would you say is the biggest roadblock to hitting your expansion targets?
Well, today it's really difficult with inflation. Construction costs have really gone up dramatically, way more than in our markets in particular, but way more than general inflation, let's call it. And the retail real estate market is really tough too. It's relatively tight in our markets. Landlords have been very hesitant, resistant to reduce their rent rates or to be more economically attractive. And so it's really hard to find those opportunities that work, where the real estate we can get a hold of at the right price and we can build it at the right price so that we can then charge our customers the right price that works for them. And then everybody's happy. And that's the challenge. It's a puzzle. And it always is. It always has been. It's just more challenging today. Couple that with the idea that there's much more competition in the market today. So site selection is that much more complicated. And then you're just competing with other concepts that are similar to ours. And it just makes it challenging.
Sounds like there's quite a few obstacles there to overcome. What are you doing to address this?
Well, right at the moment, we've took a bit of a pause on new building and we're letting things kind of settle in a little bit. We're still looking at opportunities and we're being opportunistic. So when things pop up that are compelling, we can act, but we're not working as hard as we were on really proactively securing sites at this moment. We hope to be doing that later this year. We're actively pursuing acquisitions within the Sola system. We want to bring in more folks. The system is now kind of maturing. Sola's been around for over 20 years. I think we celebrated our 20-year anniversary a little over a year ago. And so there are operators now in the system that have been in for a long time, and there are some of them are ready for a change. They did what they wanted to do. They're now kind of retirement age, and there's a lot of opportunities there. So we're working those, or people just want to do something else. After 5 or 10 or 15 years of doing something, you can imagine it's just like anything. So we're looking out for those opportunities. We're a good group to work with because we know what we're doing. We know how to value these things and we know how to work through the process.
Sounds like acquisitions could be a great opportunity. How do you transition those locations to maintain consistency with the brand?
We're typically, but not necessarily always, but we're typically acquiring other Sola Salons locations in, say, another market, right? And then bringing them into our system, our franchise system. So they're familiar with Sola. The operator that came before us presumably is likely a good operator in sort of executing on the Sola Salon strategy. So that doesn't really change a lot. Where it is just really how we support them. And also just building the relationships. So when they come in, if they're coming into us with a management team or a group of managers or one manager, depending on how many stores, ideally, those are solid people and they've got great relationships with their beauty professionals in the Solas. And it's a really quite easy transition and it's not very visible necessarily to the pros. But if it's coming in and we need to adapt the systems, like sometimes it's a small group, and just like we did, whenever you're small, you do things yourself. You haven't institutionalized a lot of the processes, and then we will do that over time. We don't do it immediately, but we will implement our systems over time. And then when we do that, we bring along both the internal team as well as, importantly, our customers, so they're not surprised. And you just have to be patient, take time, and work through it. Have great communications with all the parties, so they know what's going on. And just work it through. And then we'll bring our systems, which we've developed around whether it's, how you say you're a beauty professional and you're hot or cold. because the air conditioning in your studio is off. How you might interact with us might be different from how you used to. Maybe you picked up the phone and called the other manager before, and now you just hit a QR code and just say what's going on, and then somebody calls you back, or we send a note and we send a person. And we're just looking for ways to make the experience more seamless, quicker, more efficient, and ultimately better for the beauty pro, as well as for us. So we can manage it, because there's a lot going on. You can imagine with 59 locations, we're servicing, let's call it 1,700 beauty pros, of which each one maybe reaches out to us, think about it, just once a month on average. That's a lot of interactions. It's probably more than that, frankly, for whatever reason. And so it's a lot to do. And having good systems and processes is key, and creating a level of consistency so that your customer knows what to expect, but also so that our staff can actually deliver at that volume in a very personal way.
So from a marketing perspective, how are you handling the changing dynamics in the beauty industry, especially post-pandemic?
Well, that's a really good question. I've learned so many things in business. That would be a multi-part, multi-volume book. But what one thing I definitely have learned is marketing changes all the time, and maybe faster than most other things, because the market is always moving. People's preferences, how things are. And today with technology, it's moving more rapidly than ever. So I think in the digital world, which is kind of social media driven, the majority of our marketing efforts revolve around social media. And that's fine and dandy. The issue is like what platforms, what channels, and that's changing. Google's changing all the time. And there's an element with, say, Google, which I've come to think of as, you sort of chase your tail with Google. You figure something out and it's successful, and then it changes. And now you try it again. And it's getting harder and harder with not just Google, but with others. But then there's other platforms. You got TikTok, you've got, of course, Instagram, we've been very active on for many years, and a variety of others, and finding those in other meta platforms, and figuring out ways to work with them to basically reach potential customers who would really benefit from understanding what we do and what we have to offer. I mean, that's what we're always trying to do, but it's always changing. It's very challenging. And then there's a new thing, which everybody talks about, AI, but it is significant change, I think, around marketing. So how do you market when people are asking questions of AI? It's a little bit different than a typical search, because the result is text or even audio, right? But it's a sort of natural response. It's not just serve up a bunch of links. There can be links, there's links associated with, but it's very different. I think that's going to kind of change. I don't know how, but I think that's going to change how, like, what do you do as a company to kind of be appealing to the generative AI engine? Different maybe than just from the basic. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
Well, what are your thoughts around that?
I just think it's kind of an unknown, and it's an area of worthy of consideration and looking at. Another interesting thing is maybe there's some level of return to non-digital in a way. Like how do you find people back in the day, and we still do to some degree, physical mail. Physical mail is still a thing, and it can be very effective. So how do we use that and leverage? There's an interaction in a way between technology and more traditional marketing methods, of course. And then how can we leverage those to get an advantage? And I don't have the answer.
Yeah. Well, AI can certainly help provide some of those answers too. It's amazing when you start using it, and what kind of answers you can get in terms of marketing mix.
Oh, and for the beauty models, they're doing a couple of things. They're taking care of their customer by providing their sort of technical services. At the same time, they're trying to attract customers, right? The marketing side. So they have both the business and the actual practice, and AI can help them on both fronts dramatically. So we're entering a whole new age. Back in when we were talking to beauty pros, and these are independent individuals, right? Coming in, they're scared. They've been working in a commission salon for 10 years. And you'd say, look, things have never been more ripe for you to find success independently because of social media, the web and social media. You have access to people. They have access to you in ways that they never had before and you never had before. I mean, that's going way back, right? Of course, we've seen all that play out. So if you can establish a following via social media, then you can establish a clientele leveraging that following, and you have a business. That used to be really, really hard before social media. And you got to remember, when we began this, the way we found people technologically, other than kind of mailers and more traditional methods, was sort of the very first sort of social media, which was Craigslist, like the job board type part of Craigslist. So people would go to Craigslist when they were looking for a change in their career, where they wanted to find a salon to go to. And we'd find them there. And it was very successful for a while. And then it wasn't. And everything moved. Then it moved to Facebook, and then from Facebook to Instagram, then from Instagram to, which we do all still, Facebook, Instagram, and it's just building, and then TikTok. And, you just keep going down the social media, or up the social media ladder. I'm not sure how to really say it, but all the different platforms and channels.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we found is that in terms of search and AI, that being a leader in terms of social media actually helps with your AI search.
Absolutely.
So you're definitely doing the right thing.
Does it resonate? Are people reacting to it? Is it valuable to them? And I think for us as an operator and as a brand, that's what it's all about, is being relevant to our constituents, our customer base. And if we can do that really effectively, sure, at a national kind of level, great, but also really at a local level, then we're going to win. We just need to basically attract folks to us so that we meet them. Then we resonate with them. And then once they're in our system, they understand we're delivering on our promises, and we kind of win. Everybody wins.
Definitely. So what are your growth targets for this year?
This year, we don't have a specific target on growing our units. We do have a target on growing our pros. We're going to add into our system in the neighborhood of around 150 plus beauty pros into our system this year. Net, because there's always some turnover. People leave town, people get ill, their spouse leave. There's always something happening. So you always got to kind of backfill the people who are moving on to something else, while at the same time adding to your base. We've got studios that are available to fill. So we're working really hard at filling those. We're doing really well, very strong in our occupancy, but we want to increase that. And it's good for everybody, because it's good for the location. It's good for the community in each location, the more people that are there, and add more diversity. That's another thing. I guess I've said it's customer first kind of attitude, taking care of our customers, the beauty pro. But a big part of that is making sure there's a good community for them in our locations. And we work really hard at doing that. It's part of attracting the right people. So you have a head start on naturally creating a good community because you've got good people. And then adding to that different events and things we do to get people together and to celebrate their success. And it helps create these nice communities.
Absolutely. Well, community is very important, more than ever. It's important to be continuing to foster community these days with your business. So I'm curious, what trends in the beauty industry excite you most?
Well, again, it's always changing, the beauty industry. And the beauty industry itself is just getting bigger because there's more services that keep coming up, right? Whether it's, just an example, popularity of tattoos over the last 15 or 20 years changed dramatically. That's a big growth. So we have a lot of tattoo artists in our spaces now. The growth in injectables has been a big part of our growth, and it's kind of becoming bigger. At the end of the day, hair is kind of the core of our business, and I think it always will be, but we're seeing more variety of beauty services available and coming in and operating out of our Sola Salon as we grow. And that's the biggest trend. There's just more services, more diversity of services. And we think there's a place for that within our Solas, where somebody can come and they have a hair that traditionally be like, oh, great, I've got my hairstylist here, and there's a nail tech who I really like. So they have one place to go for both those. But we have many, many locations now where somebody's coming and they found a great injectable provider. And, there's a Pilates instructor there that does private one-on-one Pilates. I mean, there's so many, you just keep going. There's so many services. We used to call them, what do we call them? We used to call them other services because it was hair and nails and skin. And then there was like other services. Actually, I'm thinking about it now. It used to be hair, and then nails and skin were other services. Now it's like other services isn't a word. These are all services that are provided inside of Sola. There's so many. And I think it's pretty boundless in a lot of ways of what can work as an independent business inside of Sola.
That's great. So what will be crucial to get right in the next year?
I think for us, I'll answer it two ways. One, for our system, which is kind of more operational, for us to get right is getting, we've worked really hard to have an operating model that works at our scale, and we need to complete institutionalizing that model and the systems, a lot of which are technology driven, that support that. That's one perspective. The other perspective is from a salon's point of view overall, is really understanding with the changes that are happening in the market, is who are our customers. It's more diverse. How do we service all of them more effectively and become an attractive place? Make sure we're the most attractive place to be for all of these different services, and get that message out in a meaningful way so that folks, find us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think there'll be many folks that'll be finding you this year. So I'm excited to see you continue to grow and thrive.
Thank you. Well, we can do that. We've got a phenomenal team in our system and across the whole Sola salons kind of ecosystem. Really, really great operators all over the country. And then our team in our 4 states is just great. It's all about people. You have great people that share your vision and passion, you're going to be met with success. We want our Beauty Pro customers to feel that and be inspired and achieve their dreams. That's really why we're here and why we do it every day.
That's great. Well, that's it for today's episode of Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. A huge thank you to David for sharing his insights and the amazing work Salon Freedom Holdings is doing to help people live healthier, happier lives. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who'd benefit. If you're a brand or business making an impact in health, wellness, or personal care, we'd love to help you grow. Connect with me at luxhammer.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep making a difference.
Thanks.